2006, New Jersey, April 15th, Culver's Gap parking lot, north to Gren Anderson lean-to. The trail started in the hardwoods with no leaves on the trees yet, and the sunny day with clear skies was making the woods feeling hot and humid with no winds so early in the morning. We started a climb steeply up for a short distance. The rain last night, after we had checked into our lean-to at Stokes State Park, left the morning foggy and humid. The trail was not far from houses around Culver's Lake. This area also had a lot of traffic. We had one nice view of the area. A hiker with a dog passed us on the trail with a backpack going north. After we passed him, we went about 2 miles and saw a large cell phone tower and then reached a fire tower. The same hiker we just passed had passed us again with 4 other hikers with packs. The view from the top of the fire tower was great, with a nice refreshing wind. After we left the tower, the trail through the woods became a little bit more like a woods forest, because we did not see any more houses. We saw 2 birds on the trail, maybe grouses. The birds had just walked in front of us down the trail. Dave saw 3 turkey vultures that he had thought were red-tail hawks that were riding the thermals above the valley. His favorite birds, but no, they were just turkey vultures that we found out after the trip. We reached Gren Anderson lean-to. It didn't have much, as some of the other lean-tos that we had seen on the sections of the AT that we had done. No logbook and no bunk beds. A sign said that the water was polluted on the Kittatinny Ridge. We ate our lunch, and after discovered the outhouse, which was an outhouse with no external walls, just a toilet seat on a box. You could see the road from the toilet seat, and traffic on the road could see you. We decided to take the Stony Brook Trail back to the car. This trail followed the brook, and we saw a nice waterfall and went through a wetland with some skunk cabbage just starting to come out. We came to a neat area with big hemlocks and an old well. At one time, there must have been a house here because we could see a foundation and some stone steps. We passed through another pine forest. This return trail was very scenic. We turned onto the Corson Trail and passed a great view of the fire tower and the cell phone tower that we had passed on the ridge yesterday. It was interesting to see the ridge that we had walked from the bottom yesterday. During the afternoon, the wind picked up. The wind felt nice, and it kept the gnats away. It turned out to be a great afternoon after all. April 16th, Gren Anderson Shelter north to Sunrise Mountain. This morning, Dave surprised me with an Easter egg hunt at camp. I found it, and it was a face cream lotion. We started out on the trail at about 10 o'clock. Today was cooler and windier than yesterday. The woods was like yesterday, mostly hardwoods. We went into a muddy area and then followed the road to the top of Sunrise Mountain. We could see a lot of traffic on the road from the trail. We went through a couple of pine forest areas that went up and then down and back into the hardwoods. A big snake. The most exciting thing that I ever saw on the trail. It was a racer. We have never seen a snake like this before. It was large and black, about 4 to 5 feet long, and fat like it had just eaten something. And its head was up, and it was moving it around like a cobra. I saw it first and yelled out, "Snake!" The snake slithered away before Dave could see it or film it. He never let me live this down all day. When we reached the top, we found a pavilion with benches. April 17th, Sunrise Mountain north to Mashipacong Shelter. The New Jersey trails so far have been very rocky. You are always walking on rocks at different angles. Someone in the trail registered today said that the rocks were in Pennsylvania. What a laugh. They were here in New Jersey, too. The trail was mostly in the hardwoods, no leaves on the trees yet. Lots of down trees were across the trail. This section of the trail so far has not been my favorite part of the AT, but it has to be done. It would be hard to do this in the summer because this section had a lot of brush and pickers. We passed one interesting area that had some white birch trees after passing a dirt road that someone had dumped some garbage on. We descended into some more pickers and then climbed back up into a ridgeline near the shelter, which I liked. That was my favorite part of the trail today. The shelter was made of stones and was in a nice clean area. It was next to the road on the north side of the shelter, about 0.2 of a mile. Someone had written in the shelter logbook that a news crew was here in August 2005 because a bear had attacked someone and had to be shot. Some other people said there was a cover up because some of the pages had been ripped out of the logbook and that they had taken the last logbook away to cover up the story. The news crew said that someone had left crackers in the bottom of their sleeping bag, which provoked the attack. We heard a few birds and a woodpecker, but no other wildlife today, except for that grouse or a partridge on the top of Sunrise Mountain in the parking lot. The weather was sunny and cool, good hiking weather. April 18th, Deckertown Road north to Rutherford Shelter. The trail started out like the other New Jersey trails, rocks, and a lot of trees over the trail. It climbed to a more exciting area in the pines, then it descended and then climbed again steeply. Then the trail joined up with the Iris Trail, which we had thought the shelter was off the Iris Trail. We walked about a half of a mile and thought that we had reached the shelter, but no, it was just a private camp, so we continued on the Iris Trail for about another mile. The trail had great views of Lake Rutherford, or was it a reservoir? We decided that we could not make it to the shelter this way, so we turned around. We found an unmarked dirt road leading in the direction of the AT. We headed west on the dirt road, and amazingly, we came out to the shelter. The shelter was 0.4 of a mile down a steep ledge from the AT. The shelter was really nice, though. It looked like an old Appalachian cabin deep in the woods. Dave said that it looked like it might have been an old hillbilly cabin with a still. There was a nice yard in front of the shelter. The shelter was really old and a little dumpy looking with no bunk beds. The bear box had broken hinges, and there was no outhouse here, and the floor was really old. We ate our lunch and headed back to the AT, so we covered the whole section of AT in this area. The Iris Trail was road-like with no rocks. It had passed through a bog area and had climbed steeply back up to the AT. We took the AT back to our car. We had seen a small brown animal on the road coming towards the trail. We heard some songbirds at the shelter. It was a great day with beautiful weather. April 19th, Culliver's Gap south to Brink Road Shelter. The trail crossed Route 206, a crazy busy and dangerous road to cross. The trail started off with a steep climb up to a ridgeline. We saw some white flowers just starting to bloom on the trees for a long time along the ridgeline. However, all you could see and hear along the ridgeline was road traffic and the sounds of boats in Culliver's Lake. This area was very populated with lots of rich homes around the lake. We kept seeing turkey vultures, what Dave kept calling hawks, circling around the ridgeline. We could see their shadow on the rock ridgeline. We had never been that close to them before. They were just riding the currents. There were short pine trees up here, which made the area really scenic than some of the other parts of the trail that we had done. We passed a through hiker going from Pennsylvania to Maine. He told us he really needed some chocolate and coffee. We started to descend after passing about 3 peaks and left the views of the town below and traffic, and it became quiet and peaceful. We descended to a dirt road, and all of a sudden we saw lots of people gathering at the bottom. We thought that it was Brink Road Shelter. Well, it ended up being a large youth group with 2 adult leaders relaxing next to the road. We turned right and walked about 0.2 of a mile to the shelter. It was an old log-style shelter. Again, no bunks and a dirt floor. Trash was everywhere inside the shelter. Tin cans, plastic bottles, plastic bags, and even an old blue tarp. We even found a money bag, but it was empty. Dave said that he had noticed that the shelters in New Jersey are not clean and kept up like the ones that we saw in Massachusetts. It didn't even have a logbook. We noticed that none of the shelters that we had seen on this trip had a logbook on. The interesting thing about the New Jersey shelters is that they appear to be the original shelters that was built when the AT was first made. The weather today was great with blue skies and temperatures around 65 to 70 degrees with a breeze. We had covered about 3 to 6 miles each way today. A lot of miles. 7 miles is a lot of miles for us. Our feet, Dave's ankle, and my back were in a lot of pain. We saw a turkey on the way out after Dave had twisted his ankle. We saw lots of turkey vultures and heard some songbirds. April 20th, Buttermilk Falls, south to the base of Rattlesnake Mountain. We wanted to start out at Brink Road Shelter, but couldn't travel on the road into the trail because it was blocked off. The only way to Shea Trail is to hike a mile back to Brink Road. maybe next time. We passed Tillman Ravine, a nature area, and took a left to Buttermilk Falls. The falls were very scenic. A trail sign said 1 mile to the AT. It was a nice area passing through a hemlock forest at the bottom, and then getting more steeply into a ledge rock area near the top. At the bottom, I had saw some trout lilies and Dutchman breeches near the falls. We had kept thinking that it was only a mile to the AT, but we kept climbing, seeing a ridge line and then more climbing and seeing another ridge line and more climbing and on and on. We passed a trail sign called the Woods Trail and climbed some more. Finally, we reached the AT with a sign that said 2 miles to Buttermilk Falls. There was some nice camping sites here at the top of Buttermilk Falls. The AT started out flat here along a ridgeline with no rocks, but it did not last long before it became rockier. We were beat after the 2-mile steep climb up from the parking lot. We wanted to make it to Rattlesnake Mountain, but we were too exhausted and it was getting late. We descended to a Boy Scout bridge on the trail that crossed a small stream at the base of Rattlesnake Mountain and stopped to eat our lunch here before heading back. It will make a good turnaround marker when we return from the other side. This area was nice, and we had laid down on the bridge for a while. I took my boots off, and Dave rubbed my aching feet. We saw a black lizard about 6 inches long, warming itself on a rock as we were heading back, and we saw the turkey vultures soaring above. We did not see any other hikers on the AT today. It was a very quiet day. This was our quietest day this trip. We had nice weather and blue skies with temperatures in the 70s.